and those kinds of things. Next. Next. Okay, on the other hand, my wife has also had her share of experience.
I'm a Lord of the Rings fan. In this particular picture, I'm dressed as Sam next to Galadriel. I went to the second movie's opening in costume, barefoot with hobbit fur on them. And those of you who were in Colorado may remember there was a good snowstorm in Springs that particular weekend. And I actually had a lot of people who thought that I really was Sam and stuff, so that was kind of cool. So a bunch of kids and the moms had no clue they were talking to a woman. It was kind of fun. Another thing that when they had the third movie come out, I decided that I didn't want to do the same thing twice. So I actually went as Gimli, which we cannot find a picture of. But I had full beard, mustache, I had the hair, I had the helm, I had the outfit. And the thing that tends to give me away is my voice and the fact that I talk with my hands. So I try to remember to be less animated as a male, but after a very long day, you start to forget these things. And it was funny because people who had thought that I was the guy at the beginning of the very long marathon started coming up and saying, wait a minute, are you a girl? It's like, well, as a matter of fact, yes, I am. So there's a lot of things that you have to keep in mind, especially if you're doing it over a long period of time, to stay in character.
We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Okay, that's what I normally look like, just so you know.
I borrowed his goatee.
And that's what she actually looks like. I just love that previous picture. It was I put it as a wallpaper on her computer at one point. She was real happy with it. But that's what we really normally look like, okay? Now, just a real quick history lesson. Crossplay, cross-dressing in Japan is part of the performing arts, has a long history. And I'm not going to bore you with it except to say that, of course, the main place that you hear about it in Japanese history is Kabuki. Kabuki was originally performed with men and women. Men and women, just normally you would expect. Except that the women were starting to be called upon for favors. And it almost, if you were an actress, it became synonymous with prostitute. So the emperor decided that that was highly inappropriate and unacceptable, so he said women could not act. And instead of women, just like in Shakespeare's time in England, they had young boys play the female roles. But they rapidly discovered that the young boys were not really socially faring any better than the women had. How was that for euphemism? So, they then mandated that only adult men could play the female roles, and that's the way Kabuki has been ever since. There's an interesting contrast to that, as in a Japanese theater, whose name I never can pronounce correctly, where all of the roles are played by women. And there will be a presentation on that after this particular presentation. Crossplay has continued all the way down through, and of course, as all of you know, it's certainly an active and a significant part of not only Japanese tradition, but also their cosplaying as well. Okay, now we're going to talk about the look. We're going to start with going over all of the different steps for you to take into consideration. This is there's Patricia as Neelix, and a friend of ours who frequently has gone to the Starfest as Klingon in drag. That's what she's looking for, there it is. Now, go ahead, next. Okay, this one is for the guys. When I did Gwen, I had to take a bunch of extra publicity shots to be able to have things for people to sign, so I took a bunch of cheesecake shots in different poses, so that's where some of it's come from. Guys, shaving. First thing you need to do, if you want to make sure that you pass is you're going to have to shave, and you're going to have to shave a lot. You're going to shave a lot more than you're used to shaving. Now, those of you who are under 15, 16, 17, 18, you may be able to slide under. When I was a senior in high school, I spent 6 weeks growing a mustache and didn't have enough to shave off. But the time comes when you do have to take care of those things. Now, ladies, you understand how this works. Gentlemen, that means you need to plan on. Let me just give an example, because if you're going for the illusion, if you're trying to portray yourself as being a member of the opposite sex, you don't want any of these little things to give you away. Like one year when I went to the Renaissance Festival as Xena, a woman came up to me and she said, "You look really good, that's a really great costume." I said, "Thank you very much." She said, "But you probably want to shave a little higher on the back of your legs next time." Because I had a big clump of fur right here. So, shaving, what do you do? How do you do that? Real quick. Couple of pieces of advice. First of all, you don't have to shave anything that isn't going to show. But if you're going to be wearing something short, you need to shave your legs, you might need to shave your arms, depending upon how that goes. You might need to shave your chest if you're going to be showing some cleavage or some chest. You might even need some help shaving your back if you're wearing something low cut. It's doable if you have somebody who's willing. Boy, do I overbig. Now, the method that I use is climbing into the shower, and I usually shave in the shower anyway. And there are a couple of products that I have used. No, I'm not getting any money for this. But I'll try to tell you about some things that work and work well. What I have found is better than anything else is something called Total Shaving Solution. It's an oil, and it actually works better in the shower. So ladies, if you tend to shave your legs in the shower and those kinds of things. I tend to use that, and I tend to use a Track 3 razor. Track 3 Turbo, Mach 3, that's what it's called. Mach 3, it seems to get a lot closer. I tend to shave everything. When you're shaving, you have to be very careful around bony areas. It can be somewhat awkward. One time when I had first started doing it, I was shaving my wrist and actually made a nice slice, which lasted longer than when I was doing costuming, so my hair grows back, but I've got this big gash here, and it was amusing for people to ask me, what happened to your wrist? I cut myself shaving. A little difficult. So, want to make sure that you are pretty much, have someone else take a look to see if you missed spots, gaps. Like I said, sometimes that can catch you out. And also, let's see, what was that? And just basically, the other thing you need to realize is it's not something that you can do all at once. So if you're looking at shaving yourself, and shaving your legs and your arms and everything like that, you probably don't want to do it all at once. Number one, it always gets in, you have to measure how much hot water you have and if anybody else is going to need any. I made the terrible mistake of not counting the amount of time the shower was going to remain hot, and I finished one leg. So the other thing is, even if you're like at the motel, they have unlimited hot water. After a certain point of time, your body starts to prunify, and then it becomes more difficult because your skin is water saturated and isn't firm enough. And so trying to do it all at once. Usually, for example, if I'm getting ready to costume for the first time in a long time, usually it'll take me about 3 days to get everything cleared off, as it were. So guys, that's one thing to think about. And again, if you're wearing a Gundam outfit, you're probably going to shave a whole lot, or something that completely covers. When I was Carmen San Diego, there was really no skin showing, so it wasn't a big deal. An outfit like this or an outfit like Xena, it will be totally different. Okay, next. Okay, body shape. Does this make me look fat? Yes. Let me give you some advice before we get talking about body shape. How many of you all have had the greatest costume, but you couldn't get what you consider to be a good picture of it with you in it? Have you ever had that frustration? You got like 5 photos and you're looking at it and you're going, man, it looks so much better than this. How come it's not showing up? I am going to give you the secret of good photography for costuming and those kinds of things. The secret to getting a good photo is very simply take lots and lots of photos. Honestly, when I was doing Gwen, I had a photo shoot. Actually, I had a professional photographer who helped me out, and we went through, I got what I would say probably were about 15 really good photos. You'll see some of them. 15 really good photos. He shot 16 rolls of film. Not that I'm that ugly, mind you. It's just that.
Just that vague.
But the reality is that the more photos you take, I have photos, like for example, this photo, I look like I weigh 300 pounds. I have no idea why. I have no idea what the camera, whether it was the lighting, I don't know if it was the color, I don't know what happened, and by the way, you're the first people I've ever showed this